off, first, County Executive had a couple words. County Executive Mark Mullincars.
Thank you, Commissioner. First off, I appreciate everyone coming here tonight as we have this very important public hearing in regards to this SEQR analysis that was done for the construction of the new Bill Stadium in Orchard Park. I want to note we're joined by Karen Gambino of Deaf Access Services, who will be providing the American Sign Language to those that need it in the audience. We are also joined by the supervisor of the town of Orchard Park, Gene Myshak. I want to thank the supervisor for being here, as well as John Mills, the legislator from the Erie County Legislature, who represents the town of Orchard Park. This is a process that's been going on for quite some time. I think many of you may have actually attended the first public hearing that was held at the Bills Fieldhouse a couple months ago, and this is a continuation of that process. And so without any further discussion from me, I'm going to turn it over to the experts who've been working on this process for a few months now, and I want to turn it over to our Commissioner of Public Works, Bill Gary. So Commissioner Gary, the floor is yours.
Thanks, boss. Good evening. As the County Executive said, my name is Bill Gary. Pleasure to be here tonight with everybody. Seated at the table to my right, I have Kim Nansen from Phillips Lytle, Adam Walters from Phillips Lytle. They're on the Erie County team helping us through the SEQR process. Rich Stanton from our law department from Erie County Attorney's Office, as well as Mark Roundtree from the Department of Environment and Planning. There are some other notable people we'd like to recognize in the audience tonight. We have Populous here tonight, Kelly Kearns, Scott Radicek, thank you for being here. And also WSP is here also from the design groups, so thank you. Purpose of this meeting, obviously SEQR is a process. The intent of the SEQR process is for us to make an informed decision on the impacts of the proposed action, environmental impacts of the proposed action. As you'll hear in a few minutes, the proposed actions we have been evaluating include transferring of land ownership, providing public funding, and issuing permits to allow the construction and operation of a new approximately 60,000 seat NFL stadium for the Buffalo Bills. We'll be right across the street from the current stadium on the west side of Abbott Road. As you hear tonight, you'll see documentation that is currently available for review of the project on our website. A great deal of work and analysis has been performed by a team of experts over the last several months. As a result of this work, significant documentation has been made available for public review. The reports and more information are available on the project website at buffalobillsseqr.com. And we'll go back to that too for anybody that wants to, after this meeting, submit anything. buffalobillsseqr.com is the place to put input for your questions to be answered. The critical part of the SEQR process is getting input from the public and interested involved agencies along the way. We look forward to receiving your input now that all the studies and reports are available. Tonight is a public hearing which is intended to describe the scope of the SEQR, review the process that's been completed to date, and summarize the information available for public review and review public comments. First, I'd like to introduce Adam Walters and Kim Nansen from Phillips Lytle to walk us through an update of where we are in the SEQR process in a little more detailed aspect of it. Then we'll open up the mic and ask for public comments. More details on that later, but we'll ask that everyone keep their verbal comments to 3 minutes so that everyone can be heard on a timely basis. Again, this is only for public comments. There won't be any answers. Your answers will be posted November 23rd on the website. And we'll also, this is strictly about the SEQR process. Unfortunately, I can't take any questions as to season ticket prices or anything else that might be happening. We don't have those details. But for those watching online, you can submit the comments via the website, submit comments anytime up until November 2nd. Again, that's at buffalobillsseqr.com, buffalobillsseqr.com. At this time, Kim.
Thanks, Bill. First, I just kind of want to set the stage, give a little background context here. I know many of you were at the scoping meeting, but I'll just summarize it once again. So what is SEQR? Why are we here? Why are we going through this process? SEQR stands for the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and it requires governmental agencies to evaluate potential environmental impacts of a project before they can make any decisions relative to undertaking a project, funding a project, or approving a project. So that's what kind of kicks it off here. And for purposes of SEQR, the project that we're talking about is the construction of the new stadium, as Bill said, west of Abbott Road, across the street from the existing stadium. And it also includes demolition of the existing stadium. By now, I think you've all had a chance to see the renderings that were released by the team today, and which we have here with us today. There are a number of governmental and agency decisions that are involved in this process and in this project. As Bill mentioned, the action for purposes of SEQR that kind of triggers this whole process is funding and permitting that's going to be performed by Erie County. In addition, the project involves the transfer of property, about 242 acres, that's currently owned by the county, to the Erie County Stadium Corporation, which is a state agency, which would then be leased to the team to facilitate the project. So the stadium that we've all seen this beautiful rendering of, what are we talking about in terms of details? It's approximately 60,000 seats, so a reduced seating capacity from the existing stadium. It's about 1,350,000 square feet overall. It'll have a smaller footprint than the existing stadium, but will be a taller structure. There'll be more square footage per person in the stadium, which will provide more space to move around the stadium and an increased level of comfort for the fans that are attending the game. The targeted opening date for the stadium is the 2026 season. It's important as we talk through this SEQR process to remember that we're looking at the existing stadium as a baseline here. We're not looking at constructing an entirely new stadium in a new location. We're comparing potential new impacts of this stadium construction as compared to impacts that exist from the current stadium today. That's a really key point to remember as we go through this process. So, as Bill mentioned tonight, we're going to give an overview of the comprehensive environmental review process that has been done thus far, and then update everybody as to where we are in that process and what you can expect to come next. And then we're looking forward to receiving all of your comments. We encourage everyone, if you haven't had a chance already, to take a look at that website that Bill mentioned, take a look at the documentation. There's a lot of information on there, but we look forward to receiving comments both tonight and then up until November 2nd. Please, we encourage you to submit your comments. So before I turn it over to Adam and we talk about the significant work that's been done, we mentioned that last public scoping meeting that we had. So just to refresh everybody's memory or to inform those who don't know yet, back when this process began, July 1st, we circulated what's called lead agency packages. The county circulated detailed packages to kick off the process to 40 different interested and involved agencies. And then we did conduct a public scoping meeting at the stadium, and that was on July 14th. At that meeting, we gave a presentation, kind of similar to this, on the project details, and then received comments from the public. We've got comments in writing as well. And those comments were on the scope of the review. Comments from you all, saying, you guys should look at this, you should evaluate this certain element. And all of those comments were compiled and addressed in the scope of the analysis that we completed, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And I'll turn it over to Adam to get into a summary of what's been done since we held that meeting.
All right, good evening, everyone. As Bill said, my name's Adam Walters. I'm an attorney at Phillips Lytle. With Kim, we do a lot of environmental impact reviews, and we're helping lead the county through this process. So over the last several months, really since the beginning of June, a whole team of consultants have been preparing analyses of all potential environmental impacts that may be associated with the construction and operation of a new stadium. The analysis has been summarized and compiled into a document, what we affectionately call the technical addendum. It was posted to the Buffalo Bills SEQR.com website last week, along with all of the supporting reports. We also did an executive summary because we know some people like to just skim to the details. It's all there for you. On that website, you will find the executive summary, the technical addendum, which is a comprehensive description of the project, as well as an analysis of potential impacts of every potential environmental media, starting with land and going through community. It ends with community impacts or community character. There are many, many, many expert reports, and I'll run through those in a second. You will also find a draft of parts 2 and 3 of the environmental assessment form, That's a document that the county is required to prepare by law that discloses answers to potential environmental impacts. We also put together summaries of all the comments we received at the public scoping meeting back in June, and added those responses to each comment to the website so everybody can see in a very transparent fashion how issues that were raised have been addressed. That same rule will apply for tonight. Anybody who stands up and makes comments, we have a court reporter who will transcribe your comments. The team will then compile the comments and draft responses working with the county, the bills, and all of the environmental consultants who have been involved. In terms of reports that are on that website, we have an alternatives analysis that kind of discusses the alternatives that were evaluated and why Orchard Park was selected as the location for the stadium. There's a lighting design narrative. There's geotechnical engineering assessment report. There's an ecological review of the site of the new stadium. There's a phase 1 environmental site assessment. There's preliminary stormwater management plan. There's a phase 1 archaeological investigation and progress report. There are water and sanitary sewer capacity reports. There's an electrical demand report. There's an environmental sound study. There's a noise impact study, 2 different reports. There's a traffic management plan. There's a traffic assessment. There's a demolition mitigation plan. There's a view shed analysis. And we also included before and after visualizations from various areas around the stadium so you can get a sense of how the new stadium, which is a little taller than the old stadium, will look and whether you'll be able to see it from certain areas. So all of that is posted on the website. One of the interesting things we found out as we went through this process was that there's always been a traffic management plan for game day. However, it's never been written down. It's always been kind of a PowerPoint slide with lots of notes, and every year before the season starts, everybody gets together, all the agencies that regulate traffic and safety, talk about the year coming up. So one of the things we did as part of this environmental review process was reduce the traffic management plan for game day to a written plan, with the idea being that when there's a new stadium, it will be very easy to update that regularly, both before and after the season. So it becomes kind of a tool, if you will, to help improve traffic management on game day. And that again is on the website. The next steps after tonight, obviously we'll receive public comments. Public comments can be submitted up until November 2nd. So you have a little bit of time. You can submit comments through the website. I know this meeting will be streamed, so if there are folks out there who are watching, by all means, please review the documents and submit any comments. Anything you think that needs to be addressed as part of the final environmental review process. Every comment we receive, whether it be here tonight or through the website, will be summarized and responses will be drafted, and those will be included in a final technical addendum, which will be both posted to the website and then submitted to the Erie County Legislature for final review. I think I've covered all the majors. Bill mentioned that we hope to post that around November 23rd. The team will be working throughout November to pull together the information, respond to all the comments, and to the extent the comments trigger any additional work or analysis, all of that will be reflected in the updated technical addendum, so everything gets captured. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Bill.
Thank you, Kim and Adam. So now we're up to the public comment period. What we do in this period is anybody we've asked to sign in and put their name on the list will be able to come up. We limit it to 3 minutes. We'll keep track of that too. We've got a shot clock. We also ask that no repeat comments be made, but every comment will be documented and there will be an answer. Again, this is just a listening session, so you won't have an answer to your comment tonight, but it will be addressed in the reports.
Greetings.
Greetings.
My name is Andrew. I used to be a Bills fan, dare I say a Rabbit fan. I even went to the extent one weekend to drive from Fort Hood, Texas. Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, visit family, Sunday, go to a Bills game. I actually had to go to the will call window to get the tickets. made it to the game, watched the game, started driving home back to Fort Hood when I could. Come back to Fort Hood, season ticket holder for a year, great. Like I said there, I say a rabid fan. Then about 8, 9 years ago, the Buffalo Bills disrespected the United States Armed Forces. I am retired now, I was retired 2013, so luckily I have my freedom of speech again. I am happy to use it. 2008, 2009, the NFL started their kneeling on the anthem, disrespecting the military, disrespecting the whole United States. I was trying to say Bills fan, I'm like, I'm still a Bills fan. Didn't care what other teams did, not my business. When the Bills disrespected the entire armed forces, that was the last day I watched the game. I canceled Verizon, don't go to Dunn Tire, don't go to McDonald's, I know it doesn't show. Prior to my retirement, 2006, 2007 season. Oh, can everybody hear me okay? All right. I'm not a fan of microphone. I think it was end of 2006 or end of 2007 season, I bought a Bills flag. Brought it to the team. Most of the team signed it, to include Dick Duran, Trent Edwards, Marv Levy is on the flag. Took it to Afghanistan with the Bills Backer Club. Took some pictures in front of our dining facility, because I couldn't take pictures outside of our installation, don't want to give away our location. Sent it to the Bills while I was overseas. Hey, I was honored as could be. I get back, I go to a home game. There's our pictures on the Jumbotron. I couldn't be prouder. The last day I flew the Bills flag was the day that the Bills knelt for the anthem. Haven't watched the game since. I've reached out to the Bills on numerous occasions to try to offer this flag, to try to present to the NFL, to the Bills, my team, how valuable they are to the armed forces of the United States. I got to see one game while I was in Afghanistan. Didn't care about Al-Qaeda that night. Didn't care about any mortar rounds coming in. I was closer to home. I was a little bit closer to home. They bring us closer to home, especially for those that are serving. I reached out to the Bills on numerous occasions to offer this flag that I hand carried to Afghanistan and back. No response. My main argument is just this. Now I'm retired, why should even a portion of my retirement for the injuries I sustained overseas, for the time I lost with my son, for the relationships that failed because I was overseas, why should a portion of my retirement go to pay for a new stadium for the organization that I have no clue whether they will disrespect me, disrespect the armed forces, disrespect the nation on a weekly basis? I have not watched the game, again, since the Bills knelt. Because that's just a slap in the face that I cannot turn the other cheek. I pray I didn't go over the 3 minutes. I thank you for your time. God bless.
Thank you, and thank you for your service, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't sign up.
Just sign up so we can make sure we get your name.
I will do that on my way out. Thank you for your time.
Actually, I'll pass you a pad if that's all right.
Yes, sir, no troubles.
Just want to capture it, don't want to lose. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Next up, we have Ryan Brown. Is there Ryan Brown?
Hello. Hi, my name is Ryan Brown. I live in Amherst. And I am glad to see in the report a plan for game day public transit. That's great. I am concerned about how that's going to be used, where that's going to terminate, how many trips are going to be available, what times those are going to be, allow people to be able to get to the game with enough time. But specifically, I'm concerned about the amount of New York State money that's going towards this stadium. With the combination of the state and county money for every Erie County resident, I calculated it's about $300 per Erie County resident, and that's not just voting age, that's not limited to just people who do pay taxes, but what that comes out to is a taxpayer is like, I already have to shell out for the stadium, but then if I want to watch the game, I have to go buy tickets. Obviously, having public transit in the stadium is nice, but I would expect to see more from this deal for the individual New York State residents that are footing a large portion of this stadium bill. And from an environmental and land use perspective, I would be really curious why the site was selected, not to just be on the same site, but I know this isn't a answering session. That's all my comments. Mostly it's just the amount of the individual taxpayer ends up paying for this stadium, for a stadium that's going to be used for at most 20 games a season, and that's if we had no away games, doubtful. And for a stadium that is going to be mainly used for a private team that doesn't have public ownership stake at all. That is all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Richard Whipple. Is there Richard Whipple?
Hi there, Rich Whipple, Amherst, New York. Really, I've been a season ticket holder for a very long time, diehard Bills fan for 46 years. Fellow urban planner, and I had a nice discussion with Scott walking in the door. I certainly appreciate Scott's relationship with Bills ownership over the years. We're really pleased to have you still representing and coming back to Western New York. Being an urban planner, I've certainly analyzed sports facilities as part of my career for 25 years and have worked on your side of the table with the SEQR process and SEQR in California. So I've really done a lot of work on these projects. Really appreciate the work that the county has done with Mark's leadership. And then Ron from PSE, he's been able to explain an awful lot to the fans. And certainly appreciate PSC's representation. With regard to the building, and the renderings that came out today, they're spectacular. I think on social media, one of the comments was from one of the environmental groups about the shining part of the facade there. I know you can't answer questions, but they're bringing up migratory birds and wondered if that was plate glass. And I thought it was like the skin on it was some sort of perforated material. So I think one of the responses you need to put in there was about migratory birds. Now I work for the Army Corps of Engineers, and I have a lot of projects in the Buffalo Outer Harbor in the water. So I deal with migratory birds and how they fly. And so their concern was the sheen that you see there, and I thought it was perforated material and it was for wind confusion. And if that was plate glass, that would be an awful lot of money on that. But in terms of the structure, everyone should know, all fans should know, our stadium that we are in right now, back in 1973, half of it's subgrade, half of it's underground. If you sit in the lower bowl, you're going down. So this structure is going to look very tall. Of course it is. It's because the other one is shorter. Half of it's underground. So you have to understand the massing that Populous had to work with here in order to build this. It's going to be at grade, basically. So it's a taller facility. I really appreciate the little historical reference with regard to the vertical panes on there. Certainly a nod to Kleinhand's Music Hall a little bit, and Memorial Auditorium, and War Memorial Stadium. I think with the vertical pillars there's some representation that people are really going to appreciate. So from an urban planning and design perspective, that's really respected, and appreciate the design there. I know demolition of the existing stadium is part of the process as well. The only thing I couldn't glean out of the traffic and parking study technical documents was, I think the stadium's going to be a parking lot after it's demoed, and I wasn't sure if there was going to be a net reduction of parking or not. I think the fans would probably want to know that. With the lower attendance, there would seem to be a lot more parking spaces available, and if you're going to make the stadium out of a parking lot anyways, there should be maybe a net increase in parking spaces. The only other item, and I'll leave this, is a few stadiums have done this when they've demolished their older ones. Place GPS coordinates for midfield of the existing stadium in that parking lot and the end zones. Fans will appreciate that because there's been a lot of history at that stadium, and fans want to know where the old stadium was. So place those GPS markers. They did it for Shea Stadium in New York. They put gold monuments in the parking lot. Just put them in there. People will go back there. Maybe a car will be parked over it, but so what, right? People will appreciate that. But anyway, I appreciate the SEQR requirements here tonight. Appreciate the coordination that PSE has done with the county and Populous. Scott, thanks so much for coming back again and being a part of Western New York. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Whipple.
William Tyrell.
Hi, everybody. I'm lucky to be a Bills fan. My dad, when I was 5 years old, took me to the old rock pile. That was my first Bills game. I've either seen, heard, or been to every Bills game. Okay? I'm not looking for a flag. What my concern tonight is in the area, and that house is going to be looking directly across the street now at the stadium, and that's not the concern. The rendering is absolutely beautiful. What the Pazzulas have done, and what your committee has done, and everybody, has made Buffalo a place to look at now, especially with the success of Josh Allen and the current Bills team. Let's hope that that continues to go on. My concern, being the oldest house, is that we have a grandfathered setback. So if sidewalks go in, okay, I'm going to lose a good portion of my front lawn. The second part of that is I spent $11,000 on a driveway, concrete. Okay, so I'm worried about that because the sewers would have to obviously be bigger than what they are now. And some of the ditches, there's a ditch on one side of me and a ditch on the other side that would have to be filled in. The only other concern I have is usually a homeowner, I'm a retired contractor, so usually a homeowner is responsible for their water line coming from the street to the house and inside the house, okay? Well, my house was built in 1919, and if you increase the water pressure in the area, is there a study? Is there going to be anybody coming out looking at that? And are the older residents, I suppose, going to get any kind of concession? I'm retired now and I'm a fixed income. And if I've got to look at $10,000, $12,000 to replace a water line and ruin all my garden beds in my driveway, I'm just not real happy about that. But that's about all I have to say, so that'll leave a couple more minutes for somebody else. Go Bills, great job, and I love being a Buffalo Bills fan.
Thank you, Mr. Tyrell.
Thank you. We have Mike Coslow. Mike Coslow. Legislator John Mills.
Good evening, and thanks for all you've been doing, your committee. One of the things I keep preaching to my constituents, people I run into here and elsewhere in the country, is the impact of this project. This is probably the largest dollar project and impact project probably have seen here in 100 years, maybe more. And I'm glad the drawings came out because people kept asking me what this thing would look like. And I was fortunate to be around when the old stadium was about, I think it's about 50 feet into the ground. I was at the U.S. Gypsum Company at the time, and so this is going to be 30 feet, I believe, higher than the existing facility. So it's good to get this back out to the public. I just don't have the sense that the public really understands the scope and the impact of this particular project on our area, not just Erie County, but on upstate New York. And I would like to see the word get out on that more aggressively. But having said that, I want to go back to the public safety issue here, which again are sidewalks. I know some people say, well, sidewalks are a pain in the neck because you got to clear them and things like that, but public safety is so important. I think the bills are supporting that because they want their attendees to be safe. And we've had some fatalities over the years. So having said that, I'm glad to put together the traffic plan, but I'd like it to be able to expand that to include other events that are going to take place at that stadium, including concerts and other events in general. And I think that'll just enhance what we're trying to do here now, because once this facility is built, it's going to be very tough to change what's going on in the facility. So we really got to be right up front and make this thing work the first time around. We get one bite at the apple for the next 30 years. But that public safety is so important for the pedestrians that are going to come to the stadium. And I think the other thing, that may be on the website, but how are we going to handle the 10,000 workers that we anticipate coming to this site over the next 4 years to build that stadium, especially when we're back in season for the next 3 years. We got teams coming in and playing. How are we going to handle it? Where are these people going to be staying? And what is going to be the traffic pattern of construction workers and construction machinery? I think is very important. I've talked to the Chamber of Commerce and the supervisor from Orchard Park, and we want to develop some type of, and with the help of the town of Hamburg to develop some kind of business surrounding the stadium and make it a little more unique than what we're doing now. So, thank you.
Thank you, legislator.
Don Lorenz.
Hi, thank you. I'm the Executive Director for the Orchard Park Chamber of Commerce. Jack mentioned that we've been talking back and forth. We have some concerns. The 600 and some businesses that we represent, we haven't had an opportunity at all to speak to anybody with the Bills organization, with the county, with the state, or anyone else at this point, to at least feel, get a feel for what's going to be happening. We've had a stadium for 50 years, and back in 1997, 1998, it was determined that we're going to get zero income from that stadium, and everything was going to the NFL, to the Bills. So from that point, we lost over $1.5 million a year, not getting any income from that for parking, for the concessions, for everything else. Since the businesses pay a lion's share of taxes, since most of this is being built by taxpayers' dollars at this point, as I'm representing our businesses, we don't have a hotel in our community. That's, shame on us, but that's something that we have to work towards. As John was saying, where are these people going to stay? So we're going to have thousands of people coming here, and our town does not benefit from it. I was interviewed a couple weeks ago when Pittsburgh was here. Boy, you must be really excited about all the income you're going to be making while Pittsburgh's here, because they're going to be coming in droves. And I said, Hamburg, East Aurora, Seneca, downtown will do well. We're going to have people driving by, stopping at the gas station, maybe picking up something on the way in, and then we won't see them for the rest of the time. So our stores, our boutiques, our restaurants do not get any of the economic gain from having a stadium in our backyard. It has never been maintained. That area has never been maintained. We've had blue tarps on some of the restaurants for many years. That's all people see when they come into Orchard Park. That's the image of Orchard Park. Is that what we want to continue for the next 30 years? Or do we want people to see the beautiful village and town of Orchard Park, the parks that we have, the tobogganing, all the things that we have to offer? That's some of the things I'm looking at. And I guess the other concern that I've heard from a number of people, why has it been that the Bulls or the Buffalo Bills organization is able to make a decision when we pay the lion's share that it can only be used for summer and for the football game, so that they get to have, quote, they get to play in the elements. I've been a musician my whole life. I would love to be able to go to concerts there on a regular basis. I would love to see different things. WrestleMania is coming and everything else. We don't have a convention center in Buffalo that can house these large conventions. We have a facility that would house that, and we can't use it because it's not going to be covered. I just don't understand why they have the option to be able to say, even though we're paying whatever it is, the dollar amount that we're paying compared to the NFL and the Buffalo Bills, why can they make that decision? Why can't it be retractable so that we could get 12 months out of the year? We'd like to build a hotel that will become a 12-month destination, have a museum, have a water park, but it's kind of foolish if we can't maintain having a huge structure like that that could be used 12 months out of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lorenz.
We have Erica Mortuzela.
That's a new version.
All right. Well, I'm still trying to figure out this wing confusion thing. Anyways, my main concern obviously is the support building. Reading the documents, I didn't do all 3,000 pages, but I see the building, the support building really hasn't been decided. It's going to be 1 story, 2 stories, 75,000 square feet, or up to 150,000 square feet. My concern is also, it's kind of confusing, some of the pictures that I see in there. The building's going to be right near my property line, and it also shows it's near the bathhouse, which is about 220 feet away from my property line, and as the snow goes over that building, 220 feet, yeah, the snow can drop down. My property won't be affected whatsoever if it is moved back to that part. Also, I noticed on page 17 of law, or section 17, which is the traffic report, page 23, and I think the consultant was WSP put this on. It states Hammerlawn parks 240 cars on roughly 1 acre of land, yet K&K's parking lot, which is 7 acres, parks 650 cars. 7 times 240 is 1,680 cars. I would like to hire the consultant if I can get 240 cars on my property, my 1 acre of land. That's a flaw. That thing is, a rule of thumb is 100 cars per acre. Also, I noticed that it said that during this closing off of Big Tree Road, going one way, traffic empties out a half hour faster. Well, it added a half hour to Abbott Road because you cannot make a left-hand turn down Abbott, making a left on Big Tree East. That, I think, could be fixed. I noticed also that there won't be any bridges going across because of the demand and the load of the people. I would recommend or suggest maybe 2 bridges, and what happens is that most of the people will leave for the first hour. After that, put some gates up. Everybody that's left over, that's lingering, go over the bridge, open up Abbott Road in front of the roadblock area an hour earlier to relieve the traffic, because as we know, there's going to be a couple more driveways and bulk of the traffic, or a couple more driveways on Abbott Road. This will maybe facilitate everybody leaving that way. Also, one time before the remodel, there was a plaque that honored our service people. It was a big rock. It's not there anymore. Maybe that would have helped out that gentleman. I don't know whatever happened to that rock. Let's see, boom, boom, boom. So that's about it. I'm a 35-year season ticket holder, and I'm going to almost every game, living next to the stadium, and I'm glad that we actually have one of the 32 football teams. I don't know if putting a hotel right next to the stadium will help to be an economic driver. I think if there's a hotel, it should be in the village of Orchard Park, knowing that the RV lot, when there's people in the RV lot, they don't leave the lot. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So that's everyone that signed up to.
If anybody else wants to speak, it's not too late to sign this sheet and come on up.
Yes, I would like to say something. There needs to be involvement of the business development organization, I'm not sure of the acronym, from Erie County, looking into the business aspect of this large project. If you look at, for instance, the city of Los Angeles when they built a new stadium, they had an economic plan that provided employment for people. And I realize this is a group of the rich and the powerful, but the reality is with the shutdown of, likely shutdown of the McKinley Mall, which is adjacent, jobs and employment for people in Erie County, given the enormous economic stagnation that this county has suffered in the last 30 years, needs to be taken into consideration. And this means that there should be a business development plan around the stadium. And I think it's up to Erie County Business Development Organization, through the county executive and the county legislature, to come up with a plan. This would include zoning, it would include other things that need to be taken into consideration for proper economic development. If you look at where they put in new stadiums, whether that's Cleveland, Ohio, or where you want to go, this has been an economic driver that's important to a low-income county such as Erie County. I think that given the situation, it's imperative that the plan and the county government come together with what is a longer-term business plan, given the importance of the Buffalo Bills for the entire county and for all the people. I mean, this particular county where we're in is the highest income town in the standard metropolitan statistical area, which it encompasses Erie County. And I think given the situation, there is a societal interest in making sure that there is proper development and employment and other opportunities are available to all residents of the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we just have your name, please?
Yeah, can you just come up?
My name is Richard Lester, L-E-S-T-E-R.
Thank you.
I reside at 19 Wood Thrush Trail in Orchard Park.
Thank you, Mr. Lester.
Hello, my name is Augustin Carducci, and I'm the owner of La Galleria Events on Southwestern Boulevard. And I was just talking to the gentleman from Populous, and apparently we're the closest business to the stadium. And just to let you know what's happened, my parents bought that land when I was 11 years old, and I'm headed towards 68. And we've been operating it for 52 years as a business, and my daughters are next in line to carry it on. And we survived COVID, 16 months. Banquet halls were the epicenter of businesses that needed to be closed, but we're a conservative lot and we prepared for difficult times, so we're fine. With the stadium, just to let you know what's happening with us, our main focus in banquets is weddings, and we do a lot of outside weddings. There are gardens on both sides, it's 3.5 acres. So we've lost a lot of business even for next year, with brides coming to us, looking at the hall, finding it charming, lovely, well-priced, but what about the noise? What about the construction? What about dust? Am I going to have my wedding dress covered with, construction dust? So it has impacted us, both Bills fans, and we're happy that it's there. But it is having a big economic effect on us, and it will for the next 4 years. I saw that in the report, not reading it assiduously, but reading it, they mentioned that the motel across the street, which has to be Maple Court, a 2-story building, is mentioned as far as in the 90 decibel area, and we're not included at all. We're a lot closer, and we're 2 stories too, so we'll be greatly affected. Just to let you know, of course, we're so small, and this is such a big project, but this is the impact it's having on us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I showed up a little late, so I might have missed this, I'm not sure. Did you talk about sidewalks on Abbott Road at all?
So there's a traffic management plan, a traffic analysis, all covered in the report. So it's all in there, but if you have a comment on the sidewalks, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I live down between Mile Strip and Southwestern, which is by far the busiest section of Abbott Road, by far. And 2 years ago, they redid that road, and they tore out the sidewalks that were already there. Had a perfect sidewalk there, and they tore it out. Now I'm left with mud, so I put stone down there so I'd have to go get my mail in the mud. During the games, the road crew puts up cones on the one side for people to walk in the street. Most of them aren't walking in that area. And why would you put people on the street for one? They're walking on their sidewalk in my area, tearing up whatever is left of my front yard. And I don't understand why you not put sidewalks there when you got the Southwestern Boulevard that has all of the Sears dealerships, and we got sidewalks there. I see one person a year walking on the sidewalks. You got, by far from that, coming from that direction, up Avenue, where most of the people walk, by far. I'm sure that's in the report somewhere, I'm not sure, but you got 8 side streets coming off Abbott Road too. The people that be using that during the regular time of the year, not during games. You got at least 8, probably 10 side streets coming off between Southwestern and Mile Strip, side streets off Abbott. The families could be riding their bikes and stuff. Nobody walks anymore. I've been living there 41 years, so I've seen it all with the stadium. I used to ride there when they were building my bike when I was a kid, so I have no problem with it coming, but let's do something about some sidewalks on there, but that's all my concerns.
Thank you. Can I get your name and
I
address?
signed it, texted it, but
Wait, we can track you better that way.
thank you. I'm right here.
Oh, you're right there? Okay, that's easy enough.
Excellent.
Hi.
Hi.
I filled out the top of the form, I came in a little late. I've been a Hamburg resident, my name is Stan Gasowitz, and I live at 4914 Big Tree Road. So I've been a Hamburg resident for 39 years, and I live in one of the 7 homes that are between the 2 entrances to ECC South Campus on Big Tree. And at the last meeting, one of the neighbors had brought up an issue, but before I get into that, I just want to mention that I've been accommodating the crowds over the 39 years, so I've grown to work with it, with the crowds, whether it's a football game or a concert or whatever else they have going on there. I wish with that, there's always traffic on Big Tree Road waiting to get into one of the lots before they open. There's a lot of activity going on, so I don't have any issue with that. I also don't have any problems with my utilities, and I know that came up before. So I'd like to keep it that way, so we don't have an issue with any of the utilities, whether you can't flush your toilets or whatever. The bigger issue for the neighbors that was brought up by Ernie at the last meeting was the parking lot between those 2 entrances at ECC campus is filled up always, and it starts at 9 o'clock. So you've got people partying, tailgating for 4 hours, and of course they have to use the bathroom. So what they ended up doing on Ernie's property, because he has a lot of evergreens, is they would urinate all over his property. So you brought that up. And then the times that I've lived there, there was always at least one porta potty. As I'm saying, it's a small issue for the whole, but for the neighbors it would be great. And I did put this in my comments after the July meeting, that we ought to have more than one, because it usually was at the end of the drive coming into the parking lot area, they had one there. And I'm a season ticket holder too, so I go to the games and I can see what's going on. And there's a line waiting, of course, the line's too big and people have to go, so they go anywhere. They go down any of the neighbors' properties where you can hide, or not even hide. Some of them are so drunk they don't really care. But, so what I suggested is if we're gonna continue with the tailgating at that lot, or any of the others that are close by, because there's another one off to the left, that we at least place a porta potty at each corner, so that frees it up. The issue I have with this year is I've gone to the games and I haven't seen any this year in that parking lot. So I'm thinking, why are we going the reverse direction? Is somebody paying attention to what you put in your comments or what? But that would help the neighbors and keep people in the lot, if that's what we're going to continue with the tailgating. And I think that's great. And like I said, I've lived in the neighborhood, I'm accustomed to it. I don't have any issue. I love going to the games. Now, instead of walking 10 to 15 minutes, I'll be walking 5 minutes to the games. So it's a benefit. That's my comment. And I did sign one of the sheets there.
Thank you. Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments? Looks like, I'm sorry, one more?
Hi, my name is John. I guarantee you that first line up there, I'm gonna make you regret that, I think. We look forward to your comments. We are making the mistake of a lifetime by putting a stadium out here in Orchard Park. I live a mile away. I live at 219 and 20. Okay, a mile away. I have no problem, I'm not saying anything about traffic, because traffic for the game stops at my street, and I can get out and go the other way. Anywhere I want to go. The Erie County Fair is a problem because that's just constant 55-mile-an-hour traffic. Okay. That being said, we had March Madness here this past March, or whatever. How many comments did we hear as a community that people that hadn't been here in Buffalo for how many years came back in the comments towards the difference in the area downtown, the improvements that were made. We don't need a destination out here in Orchard Park. You can look at how old I am. Okay? It's taken that long to get things done downtown. Now we're going to drag development away from there. Now, I'm not here to talk about the Perry projects, because that's a timely, costly thing. I'm here, I have paperwork that I was in the city hall today. Okay? One of the lots that I'm talking lots, just like across the street, where the infrastructure is going to be better, where there were buildings built there where we don't have to worry about artifacts. Okay? It's not just put the shovel in the ground for a $1.4 billion project. I get that. I was in construction my whole life. Again, look at my age. Okay? It's a little more involved than that, but there is basically no difference going downtown and building down there. Now, the tracks that go down here across 20 and into Orchard Park, out into Hamburg, I'm not going to get into all the transportation. Anybody that tells me, I've had conversations and talked to people one-on-one, 5-on-1, whatever, to get to the hub of downtown. Downtown is the hub of the area. Orchard Park is not. Okay? We have the 190, we have the 33, we have Delaware Avenue, we have rapid transit. What I started to say about the rail, it wouldn't take hardly anything to get these lines. The tracks are all there. They go right to the Amtrak station. It's a matter of whether we want to go diesel, whether we want to go electric, whatever. But the tracks will get you right there to the Amtrak station. And I talked to one of the politicians' offices a few years ago about going down to the DL&W when they were talking about the overhead walkway. And now they're working on that to get the tracks, the light rail down through there. And beyond there, out the east side of it. Okay? Looking at, and I've heard my state assembly wants to bring people out here on rail. That's not the same as bringing people from out here into Buffalo. Okay? Because now you have to get people picked up from wherever you're going to drop them off and get them over here to the stadium, as opposed to having them within a block or two of where I'm talking about. And I'm just, anybody wants to see this, they're welcome to it. I'm not giving them to anybody. The area, if you know the comedy club, if you know the Key Bank Center, the Gula Sports and Entertainment is right across the street from the parking garage. On the other side of the buildings is Mississippi Avenue. From Mississippi, you got Baltimore, you got Columbia, I think it is, Columbus or Columbia. Okay? And that's all owned by Buffalo Urban Renewal. Just like this was transferred from the county to the state, somebody please tell me how we can't do the same thing down there. Okay?
Your time is up.
This is a once in a lifetime to make a difference for the area. And anybody who wants to talk to me about tailgating, there's plenty of, I'll talk to them about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other speakers?
Anybody else?
We'll close this off by saying thank you for coming out tonight. We have a great amount of work ahead of us on some of these comments. We'll put the answers to those comments up. I said our target date is the 23rd of November. But again, if you want to add more comments, the website is active and will be active until November 2nd, buffalobillsseeker.com. And thank you again for coming out. Supervisor, thank you for hosting us. Have a good night and drive safely.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all. Yeah, next week.